Welcome, everyone, to How to Scale Your Business Without Investors. I'm Diane McKeever, and I am with the Minnesota chapter of SCORE, and that's who's bringing you this presentation. Our presenter today is Alexander Nouveau, who has been with us a number of times, and this is a new topic for us that he's going to be presenting. So we're really happy to see him. Before we get started, though, we have to do a little bit of business. So just stand by and let me tell you just a little bit about SCORE. SCORE is a nationwide nonprofit organization that is an independent resource partner of the Small Business Administration, your friends at the SBA. We provide free confidential business mentoring. We have over 300 chapters nationwide. Ours is one of the best, of course, but there are other chapters too. Our chapter has nearly 90 volunteers who are waiting to help you with your business question. Our chapter was recently recognized as a district chapter of the year. So you're thinking about starting a business maybe? Well, maybe you should apply for a mentor. I was talking with a new client yesterday, and she didn't have an idea. She actually had a list of her credentials, and we kicked around some ideas. So we'll even start with that in the research and planning. We'll help you when you open a business. Maybe you need some help finding funding, and we can ask Alexander about that. Or you want to grow your business. Or lastly, you're thinking about selling or closing your business. Well, on the converse side of that, somebody would be buying it. Maybe you want to buy a business. We can help you with both sides of that transaction so that you get the most out of it. We encourage you to visit our website, which is score.org/Minnesota. There you can request a mentor, nice big button there to request a mentor. You'll put in your zip code and what it is that you're looking for. And within a day or two, 3 maybe, you'll have a mentor at your side ready to help you. You can sign up for other workshops. We have weekly workshops, and each of them is as wonderful as Alexander's. In fact, the next 3 weeks, we have workshops that are all centered around finances, financial reports, and other parts of finance. So look at those. They're really fabulous. They're being offered by some of our mentors who are experts in the field. You can search on our website for other webinars that we have recorded, because all of these are in fact recorded. Lastly, I want to thank our sponsors. Without these sponsors, we wouldn't be paying the bills. You'll notice that a lot of our sponsors are financial institutions. And that's because if you have a SCORE mentor and you go into any one of these banks or credit unions, you'll find that they're listening to you a lot better because you've got an organized business plan by the time you get in there. They're not working with you coming in with a fistful of papers and say, am I worthy? So we can help you. That's an approach, isn't it, Alexander? And thank you to our community partners. So I am going to stop sharing, and Alexander is going to start sharing his slides, and he will take this over. So welcome, Diane. Alexander. Thank you so much for doing this. Take it away.
All right. If you haven't yet, I'd like just to hear from where everyone's from. So just in the chat, what's the name of your business? And then where are you attending virtually from? And I'll read out some of the other folks who just joined a second ago. All right. Looks like we got 38 participants so far. Wow. Okay. So we got Emily Walters, owner of Sparkle Wash Pressure, Flushing, Florida, and Dunedin, Florida. Welcome. HRA Consulting, Sarasota. Got another Sarasota. Welcome. Glad everybody's here. All right. So in today's presentation, we're going to learn how to scale your business without having to give up precious equity to investors. We'll cover the money machine in your basement and why this matters, how to make 2 times, 5 times, or 10 times more than your competitors. We'll cover the magic green button, and then how to buy like a billionaire. And then we'll wrap up with the one domino concept and how you can apply it in your business. Now, this is a very timely topic, and I was sharing with Diane before the presentation that this is something that I've been talking about for about 1.5 years, because for the last, really since 2008, money has been very easy to get for your business. There's been low interest rates. There's been a surplus of capital. And it felt like if you were starting a business or starting a startup or doing whatever, all you had to say is, I've got a plan, and maybe you get some results, and people were throwing money at you, and it was cheap. It was if you own a house, or you borrowed property, or borrowed money on a property, or bought a car, your interest rate was low. Like when we bought our house here, this property a couple of years ago, our interest rate was 3.25 or 3.125, something ridiculously low. I think we just missed out on 3%. Now interest rates on houses are like 7, 8, 9%. That's a big difference. To give you an idea, that could make the value, the interest payment on your property, like a lot more. Like for example, I think ours is, I have to look at the math, but just by, if we had to get the same interest rate on this property, I think our payment would be $800 extra a month. Okay, so it makes a big difference. Now that's when you're talking about millions or lots more money, it really makes it hard. And so that's on the initial side of buying things. And usually businesses you spend more money on that than property. If you're going to get $1 million loan, that 7, 8, 9% interest rate is a lot more. I always network with folks who I present to. One of them I was having a conversation with, they said, hey, we had a line of credit with the bank, and it used to be 5%. We're like, that's pretty reasonable. After interest rate, it was 12%. It makes you really think twice about expanding your business using that line of credit when it jumps that much. Okay, 12%. We're getting close to credit card interest rates. So it's very important that so this topic today is how to help you get your outcome, which is growing a successful business without needing investors or capital as much as you used to need it. Or if you do need to have it, being in a favorable position to get better rates on. So I want to introduce myself. My name is Alexander Nouveau. I'm a Score client and success story. So I started my first business when I was 7. I sold minnows to a local fish store. They loved it. In college, I ran an insurance agency, and I've done all sorts of side hustles. After I graduated, I gave the 9-to-5 life a few years, but things happened and changed all of a sudden. In 2015, I was picked up by a girl who would later become my wife. Now, she always disagrees with me, but I tell her, you sat down next to me. It's not my fault I started a conversation with you. And I knew I wanted to marry her within 3 months of meeting her. And so, that got us thinking about our future. We had dreams just like any other couple. We wanted a house, family. But you know how this works. Those things cost money, lots of money. And I looked at people in the future, 20 years from now, who were in my same career field, and they had the money, they had the success, but they were working 80 hours a week. They were divorced, and their kids didn't talk to them. Is that something I wanted? No, I think it's horrible. So in 2016, I started planning my business, and I looked at the future and said, all right, this is what I got to do. I looked at my options. I said, all right, well, owning something is the way to go. And so for 6, 7, 8 months, I planned the business. I invested a bunch of money into it. And at the time I was living in Texas, but the business was going to be located all the way in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, that's 30-hour drive time. That's like over 1,000 miles away. And so I planned all this stuff. I moved all the way there, told everybody at my old job that I was leaving, bid farewell, severed off things, packed my car with all my stuff, and moved all the way over there. And then within 3 weeks of opening, everything fell apart, completely failed. Business partners I had relied on backed out, and I was stuck. It's pretty embarrassing because if you fail 3 weeks into starting something, people are like texting you like, hey, how's it going? Are you doing great? And I was just like so awkward. I'm like, I don't know what to say to them. I'm so embarrassed. But things had not changed. My relationship with my person who's going to be my wife, still, my future had not changed. I said, all right, well, I got to do something. So I decided to move to Austin, Texas, because that's where all the startups were. And I said, if I'm going to find a business idea, I'm going to do it surrounded by other people. So I didn't have a job, moved to Austin, barely anything left in my bank account. And I started trying to find ideas. Month in, couldn't think of anything. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to get a job while I'm working on this. And so I started applying to jobs. Nobody responded. I put in probably 100 applications, got nothing, no response. I'm like, crap. Couldn't get a business going, couldn't get a job again. What the heck's going on? So I said, all right, well, maybe my resume is a problem. So I went online and I hired somebody for like $40 to write my resume. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And they're doing it for dirt cheap. This thing, I bet you I could sell this for way more. People, this value of this is a lot. I could sell this for a few $100s. So I talked to the person and they said, yeah, I'll do that with you. You sell it, I'll do the work. And so I came up with a super secret plan on how to get new business. And this was super secret. I was like, nobody can copy me. This is going to be my thing. I'm going to win. I'm going to build this $1 billion business doing this. And here's my secret plan was. I was like, I'm going to call every recruiter in the country. I'm going to tell them, look, I can get you to place people faster. They're going to win, help the clients out. And also when you send me business, I will give you a check. Well, you'll be like a referring relationship. And so I spent 3 months calling. 2 months. At this point it was November and December. I spent 2 months calling. Called every person I could. After 2 months, talked to tons of people. They all loved me. Take a guess how much business they sent my way. If you guess 0, you'd be right. So here I am. My second business that I try is not working. I have bills to pay. I've got about $500 left in my business bank account. It's been drained. And I got to pay rents. I got to make food. I got to buy groceries. And thankfully, I did this before I had kids or was married, so it'd be a lot scarier. But I was like, what the hell am I going to do? So this was over Christmas break. I said, all right, well, I know about a thing called Google Ads. Let me go learn this because I've got a knack for marketing and sales. I'll just learn this and see if I can get to work. So I spent a few weeks watching anything I could. I was ready to go. $500 left. I said, all right, well, I don't want to drag this on forever. So let's put it for 10 days, $50 a day, $500 total. I'm like, this is going to work. So I put the ads on, and first day I'm going in, I'm like, I'm going to get all these calls, all these emails, people are going to call me. Nope, nothing. Nobody calls, nobody messages. I'm like, okay, no big deal. It'll be fine. Day 2, nobody calls, nobody texts. By the 8th day, I'm terrified. I only have $100 left in my account and nothing's happened. And I would like to tell you that I had all this confidence and all this certainty that this thing was going to work, but I didn't have that. I was terrified. I was paralyzed by fear. I didn't know what was going to happen. Felt humiliated. I felt distraught. I was frustrated. And then something really strange happened on the 9th day. My phone started ringing. And for those of you who don't know what this feels like, when you get your first call from a potential client, you're like excited, but you're also paralyzed and scared because like this thing is ringing. What do I say? What if the phone doesn't work? What if I miss the call? What if this person can't understand me? And so I was sitting here panicking, and the last ring, I finally pick it up. And I start talking to the guy, and the person is calling for his daughter. His daughter was laid off. He's a nice dad. He's in his probably 50s or 60s. He wants to pay for a service to get his daughters back on their feet. We've been about half an hour talking, and about halfway through, talking about a full hour, but like halfway in, he's like, "You're new at this, aren't you?" When you are a new business owner and somebody says that to you, what the heck do you say? Because you can't not tell the truth, because if they find out later, you're going to lose that client, lose that relationship. But if you tell the truth, what if you tell him it's your first person? Does anybody want to be your first customer? No, nobody wants to be your first customer. That's why you have your friends and family to be your first customer. Nobody wants to be number one. So I paused. I made that. I kind of thought about what I was going to do, and I made the decision. I told him, I was like, yeah, this is my story. This is what I'm doing. I hired somebody who's doing the work. I've got this writer, but I started my own business. And he paused. And I thought this guy was going to hang up and be like, you're wasting my time. Never going to talk to you again. Probably the longest pause in my life, because remember, I've only got $100 left. You know what he does? He laughs. He let out the biggest belly laugh that I've ever heard. He laughed for probably a good 15 seconds. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? And then he told me, he's like, I was just like you 30 years ago when I first started my business. And he explained to me that he had a similar kind of concept where he hired somebody, he sold on top of them. And he's like, I know exactly what it's like to be in your shoes. I'm going to give you a chance. And that was the first customer. And then the next day, my phone rang again, and I got another customer. But that person doesn't know how much they meant to me. And so that's how I first started. And so the reason I share the story with you is because when I used to listen to presentations, you'd always hear, oh yeah, I've got this great story, I've got this great business, but nobody ever tells you like what actually happened and how scary it was and how you put stuff on the line and you don't know if you're going to be successful. Most likely you're going to fail. The moral of the story is I failed a lot and I had a little bit of luck and courage that actually got me there. And since then I've had massive success. I've had also failures too, but it's important for you to know this. And so, that's the story of how I created my executive branding service. Later, because I got really good at generating leads, I created a real estate lead gen service. SCORE was a big part of my journey, and I consider myself a success story. And years ago, I was in education sessions just like this. So these were in person at the time because it's pre-COVID. And so, I want you to know, looking at me, this is what I've done. And so what I hope that happens with me sharing my story and where I've got there is that you look at me and say, well, if he can do it, I can do it too. Okay, so that's why I want to share that story with you. All right, and that brings us to you. If you're here, you're probably here because you have a successful business that you want to scale. Now, to do that, you may believe that you need investors, money, and other types of support. Look, we've all probably watched Shark Tank. We see it. Oh, you get a business idea, you go in, you get money, you have investors, advisors. Well, what if you don't want to do that? Now, this is the thing that you may not know, okay? Building a business is not your main dream. This is big. Remember when I shared my dream? It was not to build a business. My dream was to have a family and freedom and life that I want. But the business is what allows you to have that, okay? So that's a very important distinction to make. You got to know why you're here. What you really want is freedom. Freedom to be your own boss. A big one is financial freedom to do what you want whenever you want. If you listen to people who are massively successful, this is why they do this. Now, in today's workshops, I'm going to help you achieve your dream faster and get a bigger payout if you one day decide to sell your business. Now, this is another question. Why do I need to start thinking about this now? Well, I'll give you an example. Let's say that one day you decide to sell your business for $10 million. Now, if you own all of that business, all 100%, you get to keep all of that money minus some taxes. Now, if you own a quarter of it, 25%, you only get 2.5 million, which last time I checked is a way smaller number. So the things you learned today could be worth $7.5 million if you one day sell your business. If that's not a good enough reason to pay attention, then I don't know what else to tell you. This is why we do this. We're thinking about the so what later when you're successful. And by the way, you have to have known this stuff today, or even better, 2 years ago. So that's why it matters. Okay, so the first concept we're going to talk about is the money machine in your basement. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you have a machine in your basement that prints off money. Pretty nice, right? Every day, like clockwork, it just prints off $100 bills. Pretty nice. Now, these money machines come in all shapes and sizes. Some are very manual that require you to crank them 10 hours per day to work. Others are automated and they print out cash with minimal maintenance. You own a money machine right now. It's your business. It requires inputs like your time, customers, labor, material, if that makes sense. And it has a process those things go through, which is you doing the work or selling the product, and eventually prints off $100 bills. Now, here's where you really need to think about this, okay? This money machine also has problems. What do I mean by that? Well, it's probably manual. which means it only works when you're downstairs cranking it. If you leave, it stops, right? It might be not good at doing some really important things, like attracting customers. It might not work all times of the year because there's no customers for it to input as inputs. You see what I'm saying? It also might not be very profitable. So the inputs you put in, like the money, barely cover the costs, or it loses money. You put in $100 worth of inputs and it only prints out $50, which lost money. Okay, so money machines can also be unprofitable too. So why does this matter? Why am I talking about this concept? Well, a lot of you want to scale your business, which is in effect copying your machines and creating very miniature versions in other places. But most of your machines aren't that good. And this is a problem because think about it. If you copy a machine that's average, it has lots of problems, and you make copies of it, you don't just have one machine with a bunch of problems. You have 10 machines with a bunch of problems. And which one's harder to deal with? 10 with the same problems. It gets infinitely more complicated. So before you do any scaling, you have to fix your money machine. So how do we fix it? Now, this question is something that I wish somebody would have told me years ago. This is the most important business question that you want to ask yourself, because this determines your destiny and your outcome as your business, okay? How much am I earning per customer compared to my competitors? Wait, why is this the most important question? Why? Are you making the same amount per customer? Are you making less per customer? What I want you to ask yourself is this question. How would I make 2 times or 5 times or 10 times more than my competitors from the same type of customer? Why? Well, it matters because acquiring customers is expensive. Advertising, marketing dollars, salespeople, it's probably one of the most expensive things you're going to do in your business. So if you have a machine that can make double, 5 times, 10x more than your competitors with the same kind of customers, it means you can spend more money on advertising versus everybody else to get more customers. I want you to internalize this quote from Dan Kennedy, okay? The company that can spend the most money to acquire a customer wins. This is all I focus on, all I obsess about, okay? This is it. They win because they can advertise in expensive places their competitors can't even touch. They win because they can buy all the advertising and jack up prices so competitors can't even be there at all. Now, I'm going to give you a case study to illustrate this point. And by the way, I network with everybody. And so I was this is a real customer. This is a real case study from a client just like yourself, okay? I was having a conversation with a business owner who runs a web hosting company for small businesses. Pretty simple business. What he does is if let's say you had a business that you wanted to host, well, he would host it for you on his servers, and he would, make sure any problems happen, he'd take care of. Does that make sense? Now, he was frustrated, and he told me his biggest problem was getting new customers. And he was trying to advertise, and he was trying to go on Google Ads. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Google Ads, how it works is, let's say that you go into Google and you search web hosting companies, and then you get a bunch of search results. Well, at the top, the first 3 to 5, they're not organic. People are actually paying to be sponsored at the top. Does that make sense? And so when you click on their link, they get charged a fee by Google to show up first or second or third or whatever. The top click is the most expensive. Make sense? So GoDaddy was spending $100 per click to get people to their website. $100 just for a click, not a sale, just a click, okay? Now let me ask you this. How could he, a small business owner, compete with that when he was selling a service for $15 a month? How would you compete with that? They charge just $100. He makes $15 a month. That's what is the math on that per year? 180 a year? It just doesn't, and not all clicks turn into sales. Maybe 1 out of 10 turns into sales. That'd be $1,000 a customer. You take 5 years to make the money back to do it. Now, why does this matter? Well, GoDaddy's money machine makes more money per customer than its competitor. Therefore, it wins the customer. Why? Well, GoDaddy can pay for the name, they can pay for the hosting, they sell you other stuff, they have lots of different things that they can offer you. And so for them, that same customer that small business owner would get versus $15 a month is worth way more than that to the GoDaddy, because they got more stuff they can sell. Make sense? So one thing that I get from a lot of folks watching is that's unfair. You know, we're talking about small business versus a big business. That's not a fair comparison. But here's what I want you to think about instead. Instead of thinking it's unfair, I want you to ask yourself, how do I be more like GoDaddy? How do I make my machine so profitable that I can spend $200 per click and beat even companies like GoDaddy? See, it changes the way you think about this, right? So remember what I said. The business that can spend, this is from Dan Kennedy, the business that can spend the most money on attracting customers wins. That's the key takeaway I want you to learn from this. So next question. All right, I'm on board. I know I need to make more per customer because I have to have the money to acquire customers. I can't just rely on referrals. I can't just rely on people finding me. I got to be able to advertise or have a sales force. So the question is, how do I make 2 times, 5 times, or 10 times per customer? How do I do it? Great question. We need to fix your customers and we need to fix your offers. Think of it for a second. Who are your best customers? You probably serve a lot of different customers. You have ones that are easy to work with, that pay a lot, don't mind spending money. And then you get the Scrooges who don't want to pay squat. Who do you like working with? I don't like working with Scrooges, do you? Well, what if you can get rid of the Scrooges and only work with your best customers, the most profitable ones? Now, once we know the best customer, the next thing is to ask yourself this question. How do I help the customer achieve their European destination? Wait, why are we talking about Europe? Well, here's why you got to think about this. People buy things for 1 or 2 reasons or both the reasons. Reason 1 is they have a pain. Reason 2 is they have a desire. They want something. And not all things are created equal. So on the pain side, which thing is somebody more likely to spend money on? Like a headache, which is mildly annoying, and you could take a pill that makes it go away, or a migraine, which is debilitating. You want to go into a room and cry and like block your eyes out because light feels like it's lasers beam baking your brain. Well, people are and they can't get rid of themselves. People spend more money on the migraine, right? That's the migraine level problem versus the headache level problem. Same thing happens on the desire side. What are they going to spend more money on? A three-day weekend trip to Cleveland, or a 3-week, all expenses paid, getaway to Europe? Which one are you more excited about? Do you want to go to Cleveland, or do you want to go to Europe for 3 weeks? How about you? But I want to go to Cleveland. I mean, just kidding. I want to go to Europe. I want the 3 weeks. I want all the best food, all the best experiences, that kind of stuff. So you see, you have to pick the right customer first, because the customer you serve has to have the funds to pay you more for your business, and you have to focus on getting them that version of what they're getting. Okay. So most businesses don't do that. What they do is they copy what everyone else is doing. And what you're doing is you're selling the version of Cleveland or the headache problem to your customers, which they're just not going to spend a lot of money on. So we got to figure out the Europe version and sell that to them. What we do then is we use what's called the value ladder to pull that off. So I'm not very creative, so I just did this on a slide point, but imagine this is a ladder, okay? At the very bottom, so imagine this is like a ladder, and these are the rungs, okay? And this is the side or whatever, and imagine there's whatever. So the bottom, you have free offers. How hard is it to sell free stuff? Not very hard. So you might sell 1,000 of these free things. Now at the top, you have something an offer that might be valued at 50,000, 100,000, a million, whatever. How many are you gonna sell those a year? Maybe 5. So you work your way up. So, with an offer between 0 and 1,000, you may sell 100, 50, the volume goes down. But the reason why this matters is because a lot of businesses, you're not serving your customer enough. So you may offer them just one service or one thing that's at this range. And what I am looking at, I mean, this, and by the way, these numbers may scare you. You might have a smaller business, and there's lots of different equations here. But but this is how you want to think about it. People buy things that are valuable to them, either solving a problem, getting them a desire. Okay. So what you want to think about it, the most important number in your business is, what is the lifetime value of my customer? Lifetime value is very simple. If I have the average customer, what is the average amount I'm going to sell to this person over the lifetime of them being with me? It's not one transaction, it's lifetime. So if your lifetime value of a customer is $5,000 versus another business, similar kind of thing, is $1,000, guess who can spend more money on advertising? You. My business now, I want my executive branding service. That service is $5,000 for that branding service for executives. My average competitor charges between $100 to $200. I charge 25 times more than they do. Who do you think can spend more money on advertising? Me. I can spend $1,000 on acquiring a customer and get better customers than them, and I can just suck up the air of the room. So don't think. So the reason I'm sharing this to you is, remember, I want you to be like me and think about this like me, because you don't want to be at the mercy of GoDaddy. You want to be GoDaddy. And by the way, I don't serve the same customer. I serve executives who have more funding to spend on stuff. I also value specialist services. I have another presentation. I talk about this if you want more details about this particular topic. It's called How to Get Sales Day One. It's How to Increase Sales by Attracting Your Best Customer. I go into this more in depth. But for our purposes, what you need to learn from this presentation and this topic right now is, the most important thing I need to know is what is my lifetime value of my customer versus my peers? And you may say that's not possible. Well, I just showed you it is possible with my business. I'm not talking from hypothetical. I'm not talking about just case studies. I live this life. So I am your success story that you want to emulate. And by the way, when I was going and learning about all this stuff and going through education seminars, you're going to find a lot of people talking about a lot of different things. And the same thing true happens with all things. So if you look at businesses and people in the United States, they constantly track these things. Same thing happens 50 years ago now. You look at a population of, let's say, 100 people. One person out of that 100 is massively runaway success. Next 5%, they're doing great. They're comfortable, they're making lots of money. Next 15% are getting by. Below 20% are struggling, and then the bottom 60%, they're barely making it and they're struggling. If you look at statistics and you see people who are living paycheck to paycheck, the same statistics have really not changed in the last 60 years because it's the same. Well, the same thing applies to businesses. The reason why you hear businesses fail, most businesses fail after 5 years, is because of this thing. So this is the time where you need to adopt this thing, which is, I need to be able to understand my lifetime value of the customer, and it needs to be more than my competitors, because I can spend more and I can acquire more. And it also affects everything aspects of your business, because the reason why you need money is you need money to buy stuff. And we'll get to this a little bit later in the presentation, but I cannot share with you how powerful this lifetime value number of your customers is, because it affects everything that we do. Okay. All right. So my point here is that your money machine is that you're not adding enough value to the right customer, and you don't have the right offers. So you want to have value customers that are profitable and you can add more value to. You probably have similar offers to your competitors in your market, because a lot of times when we start businesses, we learn from our competitors. Like when I started, I was obsessed with their websites. I learned all this stuff, but that gets you to starting, but it's not going to take you to the next level, which means you're making the same as them or less. And so what you need to be able to do is figure out the value ladder for yourself and be able to sell higher ticket items. These are not upsells. These are new offers that add more value to them. Think of it like this. If all your competitors sell their product for $200, you can also sell the $200 product. But in the back end, all I'm saying is you need to have other offers that are worth $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. Again, these numbers can change based on your business. It could be, instead of $200, it might be another $100 offer, another $500 offer, whatever. But my point is, you have to start thinking about this differently. What kind of value can I add to my customer? If you have more offers and you have the best customers, you end up making more money per customer, and your life just changes. It's a lot better. Another Dan Kennedy quote that I live by is, There is no strategic advantage to being the lowest cost, but there is a strategic advantage to being the most expensive. Because if you can sell and add more value and have customers who value your service and you're the most expensive, living this life is so much easier. Yes, you can do volume like being a Walmart, but Walmart is very hard to do as a small business. They have 50 years of experience doing this at scale. You're not going to have that. So being a specialist is the way to go when you're first starting, my opinion. All right, next thing we're talking about is the magic green button. It's something that I want every one of you to consider adding to your money machines, because when added, it makes running a business so much easier, removes frustrations and stress, and allows you to expand rapidly. So what's this magic green button you talk about? Well, imagine for a second that you could push a button on your machine and you would print out all the cash that your money machine would ever print out for its entire lifetime. Think about it. Like if you own this machine for 10 years and you knew that it was going to print out $5 million, but every day, you push the button and it gets to you that day. Pretty nice, right? Yeah. What an awesome upgrade. Get everything you would ever print right now? Heck yeah. Now, it's unlikely you can get the magic green button on your machine. It just doesn't work. For most businesses, it's not going to work. However, you can create a less powerful version. I call it magic green button light, which allows you to get the yearly amount or the monthly amount or the daily amount or whatever project amount for your business instead of having to wait for funds. Imagine whenever you sold something to a customer, let's say it was 5 years, you get all the money for the 5 years or for the year. And when it came to expenses, like paying for suppliers, inventory, staff, you got to pay those costs later. Now, what would happen is you'd have a lot of money in your pocket because you get customers to pay you up front and pay your expenses later. This is critical for scaling without investors. Why is it critical? Well, because a lot of times the reason why you need cash and investors is because you need money to buy staff, to buy assets, pay your staff, that kind of stuff. A lot of times when I talk to people who get loans, they're getting loans to pay payroll for their staff because they're having to wait for people to pay them money. It's a very common one. It's working capital. So if you install this money machine on your business, the machine generates that cash for you and helps reduce the need for investors or loans. I'll give you an example of how it works with one sample business. Let's say it's a branding service. Let's say the business gets 10 customers a month with an average sale of $5,000. That's $50,000 in sales. Now, the nice thing is that money gets deposited into your bank account as soon as you get the sales. Pretty nice. And you pay advertising costs later. If you run Google Ads, depending on the threshold, you can pay them at the end of the month. So you can get all the advertising done if you have a big enough account with them. This changes. And you pay it at the end. And then if you put it on a credit card, the credit card gives you 30 days. So you get 60-day float to pay them. So 6 days later. Also, labor is paid later. The business is getting an interest-free loan to pay off its expenses while getting cash up front to invest in other things in the business. Think about that. For 60 days, you pay off your credit card bill and you pay Google later. You have a 60-day free loan from both of those places. Not bad. This is different from how most businesses operate. And this is something you really have to write down, okay? Most businesses, how they work is they'll get a customer, they'll do all the work. So let's say you get a customer January 1st, you do all the work, and then you build a customer January 31st. And then you say, okay, well, I'll get paid 30, 69 days later. That means you have to pay all the advertising costs up front. If you have an employee, you have to pay all the staff, everything. Which business would you want to have? One that gets paid up front, has expenses later with a strong cash position, or with the other business model we talked about? By the way, I used to be a project manager. I did $100 million worth of projects, and I got to pay vendors, and I saw how much they had to wait. And sometimes it wasn't me. The company would say to vendors, oh, you did this work and you charged us $1,000, $10,000. Well, we're only going to pay you $9,000 or $8,000. What do you do if you had to take all those loans and you're in a situation where they're not going to pay you? You're going to sue them? It's going to take you 2 years to collect. They know this, so you settle. So not a good situation to be in. And by the way, this happens a lot. Why do I know this? Because I was on the vendor payment side. I know how this works. So do you want a business that's at the mercy of getting paid and you have to constantly chase them down to pay you? No, you want to get paid up front. So now whenever I talk about this concept, I give a very similar kind of response, okay? And this is what the response I get. This concept sounds great, but it's not going to work in my industry or business model because we're different, we're unique. And our customers aren't going to accept it. It's not the industry norm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's my response. This is what I call an ingrained industry mindset. If this was your first response, completely okay. I completely agree with you. But my agreement is different, okay? If more than 80% of people in a business, an industry, do something or think a certain way, it's called an ingrained mindset. So we're on the same page. I agree with you. Here's the thing, though. Do you like the way that this is done right now? Probably not. Sucks. I know, because I've been in, I've helped people with this kind of business model before. So next question is this. What if somebody figured out a way to change this way of this ingrained mindset where you could get payment up front? Would you rather be the last person to benefit from this change or be one of the first? Most of you would say, well, I want to be the first. Okay, cool. So ask yourself this. Instead of saying that's not going to work, change the question to say, look, I understand it's an ingrained mindset, but I really understand why it's a benefit for my business. How can I get the money, the magic green button to work in my industry? If it's not getting 100% paid up front, how do I get the customers to give me 50%? And we're going to be 25% up front. Still, if you get more money up front, you got to see what that was like. Now, by the way, whenever I do presentations, I really focus on trying not to give you too many numbers, because some people are numbers people like me and they can really understand it, but a lot of people aren't. They just want to be successful. And so I want to give you ways of remembering this that are easy. Like you think, magic green button, I get paid up front. It helped me with cash, less need for bar stuff. It's easy way of remembering stuff. Now I could give you diagrams of why this matters and stuff, but just from your perspective, just know if you could get the cash up front or part of it up front, you're going to be in a way better situation and you're going to decrease the need your cash needs from lenders. All right, so let's say you fixed your money machine. It's now automated, makes way more money than its competitors. Oh, one other thing I want to say before I move on. Which of these two concepts is more valuable to you? Learning how to get the magic green button in your machine or learning how to make double, 5 times, 10x more than your competitors? Learning how to get 2 times, 5 times, 10 times more from your competitors is a lot more valuable to you than, the magic green buttons are important, but I'm just saying lifetime value of a customer, that determines everything that you run your business. Because if you're in a situation where you are a cash cow, where you generate tons of cash because you have more products and services, you're way more profitable. You walk into a bank, they're chasing you to give you funds because you're so amazing. Just like Diane said, like, do you want to walk in there with a scattered bunch of papers, or do you want to have a business plan and results that says, look at how awesome I am? Well, look at how awesome I am. They'll chase you down and they'll break you they'll throw money at you. It's just different. But the reason I'm saying this is because, for you, a lot of you presenting, like, you're looking for things that you can do today, which is great. You want to look at like quick tips you can do, and magic green button is something you can do recently. A bigger, more important, long-lasting change for you, though, is the value ladder and making sure that you're making more per customer than your competitors, because that's going to change the course of your destiny. It's more work, but so when you ask questions at the end, focus the questions on, I can answer questions with the green button, but I will tell you that is what changes the course of your business. All right, so let's say you fixed your money machine. It's now automated, makes way more money than your competitors, and you can outspend everybody. Amazing. Now it's time to scale. You have 2 options when it comes to expansion. Option 1, and by the way, this is just different based on who you are. I'm saying opening a new location if you're a traditional business and has customers. If you're doing virtual stuff, you also have to spend more money on infrastructure and other stuff. So just kind of pretend like it's both, okay? Option 2 is acquiring a competitor, and then when you acquire it, fix up their money machine to be super awesome, like the one in your basement. So let's talk about option 1 first, which is opening a new location. Now, if you've supercharged your money machine, you're going to have no problems walking into a bank and getting a low interest loan if you need funding. You're just not. it's going to be easy. If you have a track record, if you have the customers, you have the results, and you show them how profitable you are, they'll be like, no brainer, here you go. Because the thing that you got to know is that banks want to invest in winners. Do you want to invest? Think about if you're the bank, you have your money you're lending out. Do you want somebody who has never done a business and is unknown, or the business who is like ready to scale and they just need capital and they want more? They'll come back for more money and they'll pay you back with interest and be a great client. Well, you want option two is the bank, right? So you got to think like them. And so notice that I said this. The title of this is How to Scale Without Investors. It's not saying how to do it without banks or lending or other stuff. It's you can do it without lending or anything, but like I'm more concerned about you walking away from your business and owning 100% of it than I am about getting a loan to the bank. And I'll cover this in a second. But banks want to invest in businesses that have lots of sales, a proven track record, and cash in the bank. So you can choose to borrow or fund your expansion through the cash that you generate from your business. I'm okay doing banks if you have the right situation with them. The key here is that you want to be in a situation where you can get traditional funding and not have to sell equity to investor. The reason why people usually have to sell business equity to investors is because they can't get traditional funding. Like you hear new businesses that don't have a track record, banks aren't going to touch them. And so they have to find an investor and say, hey, investor, we've got this great idea, you should invest in us and we're going to blow it up. And then an investor can just do that. But banks don't do the same thing. They're regulated, they can't do that. So they have to have that kind of stuff set up. Why is it so important? This is where I want you to pay attention. Well, if you take a loan from the bank, once you pay off the loan, your relationship ends. Think about it. If you sell your business one day for $10 million, and let's say you have $100,000 left on your loan, you just write the check for $100,000 and you go off to your private island with a big fat payout. Now, if you had to take somebody on when you first started and they took 25% of your business, you have to pay that person a percentage of your sales price. So which would you rather have? Paying somebody $2.5 million or just paying the bank off for $100,000? You see, this is why this matters. And this is why this topic is so top of mind for me, because I see so many businesses that don't. Again, this is something you would, if you have business now, you want to know this stuff 5 years ago, the next time is to know now. Okay. So this is why it matters. And so you don't have to have investors if you don't want to. You can have different ways of funding things if you have a winning business model. All right, that leads us to option number 2, which is buying a competitor. And here's where you can really outsmart everyone else and buy like a billionaire. Now, when you buy like this, you'll be able to expand faster with little to no money down and be able to rapidly grow. So before we talk about how billionaires can buy, let's talk about traditional buying and sales of businesses. Now, usually what happens is a business owner will say, I want to sell my business. They're moving, they're retiring, they've got a health issue. They just don't want to do it anymore. They want to sell. Then they either have a buyer that they want to use, or they have a broker, which is kind of like a real estate agent selling a house. Like you put selling a house works. You put a for sale sign on it, people buy it. Same thing. And then there's a process that goes through the books, make sure the business is good. That takes a long time, usually months. And at the end, the business gets a valuation. Usually it's based on the profits and its growth potential. Depending on the business, could be between 2 to 5 times. Here I have 3 to 5 times. It's just so dependent on the business and what it's doing. 2.5% earning profits or whatever. Don't beat me up on this. This is a very complicated topic. I'm just simplifying for people who just want to learn the concepts. So let's say 2.5% times to 5 times for over profits. So let's say a business had $100,000 in profit. In my example here, 3 times would be 300,000, 5 times would be 500,000. Make sense? Yeah. So once the price has been established, the buyer goes and finds financing. Either they have their own money, they have investors, or they get a bank loan. And at closing, the person who sells the business walks away with those funds, and the buyer takes control of the business. That's how it works. Similar to how you buy a house. Now, most people are similar with this kind of buying and selling, but it's not how billionaires like to buy businesses. This process is missing a key step and a key mindset of how to structure acquisitions. You see, after the business price is established, the missing step is negotiating terms. Now, I've got a really good friend who's in M&A, and he talks about this all the time. What M&A stands for mergers and acquisitions. What are the terms of the purchase? In our case, what are the timing and sizing of payments? Wait, what? Payments? With the first example, that buyer paid a lump sum to purchase the business, let's say $300,000. But what if you could buy a business on a payment plan? I didn't know I could do that. You can't. You see, when it comes to buying a business like this, it's called seller financing. Now, my friend in M&A, when he negotiates these billion-dollar deals, he doesn't like to call it seller financing. Instead, they call them installment payments. So people don't feel like they're giving away interest-free loans, which they really are. So let's say that you talk to your competitor and negotiate the following terms. I'll buy your business for $300,000. I'll give you a 5% down payment, and I'll pay the rest over 36 months. Now, again, terms are different. I'm just using this example, okay? Maybe 10%, maybe 20%, just lots of things. But in our example, 5% down, 36 months. In this case, you paid 5% of $300,000. I already calculated for us. That's a $15,000 down payment to buy a business, okay? And then you paid the rest. This is the remainder divided by 36 months. That's this much per month. I mean, it might be a big number for you, but if your business is making $100,000 in profit, not bad. So what's nice is that your business generates about $8.3 thousand a month in profit. So you literally just pay off this loan with the profits in your business. Here's where it gets really interesting, okay? Let's say that 1 year later, you decide to sell this location. You didn't need it, what happened was, though, when you first bought the business, it's worth $300,000. But now, since you're so good at what you do, you've tripled it. You've tripled the sales. So now it's worth $900,000. What? How did it jump 3 times? Well, remember what I said. A lot of times the valuation's based on your profits. So if you triple the profits of it, now you're making $300,000 a year, you triple the valuation. In this case, if we're using that multiplier. Again, I'm keeping this very simple. Don't beat me up about it, okay? So here's the thing. When you sell your business for $900,000, all you got to do is pay off the balance, the person you bought it from, and you pocket the rest. So let's say you owe like $200,000 left because you've been making payments. You walk away with $700,000 for a year of work. You see, this is how massively successful companies do this. You hear about M&A and leverage buyout and things that you may not understand. This is what they do. They buy a business, they hold it for a few years, and they sell it, and they walk away with how much they increased it by. And it's a big number. You can do this to small businesses. And a lot of people are like, well, I can't buy a business for a payment plan. I can't get somebody to pay me this. Yeah, not everybody's going to let you buy the business like this, but some will. That's the thing. I've seen it done. I've seen the transactions. I know people who've done it. You can too. And so, you just need to find the right buyer with the right circumstances. Something that you may not know is that we have with baby boomers retiring, we have a massive shift in ownership of businesses right now. A lot of people want to sell their businesses and they can't find buyers. So we're in a unique situation where this is the greatest time to buy an existing business in living history, because we have a massive generation of people who are retiring and selling the business that they can't find buyers. And so a lot of times they just shut them down. So if you walk in there and say, well, what if I buy it on a payment plan? That's better than shutting it down and getting nothing. You see what I'm saying? So it's options. So if you can walk into that business and fix its money machine, the acquisition will be really good for you, because the value you add can make it worth a lot more. It allows you to keep cash in the bank. Again, remember what I said, this is a cash problem. And you can buy assets without having to use banks or investors. All right, running low on time, so we'll cover this one quickly. Diane, do we have a few minutes over, or do we have to end right at the top of the hour? You're on mute, by the way.
Oh, sorry about that. We have just 3 questions. I don't think they will take long. So if you could be concise on this one, we should be okay.
Okay. So next thing we're going to talk about is the one domino concept. It comes from Tim Ferriss, author of the 4-Hour Workweek. So he was asked about the morning routine, what made it different. And so what he did was, instead of waking up and checking his phone every day, he focused on, like, what are the big things that can change my business? what are the one things that I can do that will make my life more successful, do all these things. And he calls it the one domino concept. What one domino can I knock over that'll change everything? And you can do the same thing for yourself. So what one domino can you do in your business that will massively make you more successful? Well, I've thought about it, and I want to help you figure out what that one domino is and change everything. So what is it? Well, I've looked at some of the most successful people in the world. I've looked at Steve Jobs, all-star athletes like Michael Jordan, Leonardo da Vinci. They all have one thing in common. And this is something you need to internalize. They all had multiple Yodas. Now, for those non-Star Wars fans, that means they had several guides, mentors, coaches, people who were in their corner, people who saw the potential and believed in them, people who took their raw talent and developed them in the best version of themselves. What I want to point out is they had multiple mentors, not just one, because you're going to need people who can guide you in a wide variety of topics, okay? Why do I say this? Because running a business is hard, one of the most hardest things you can do in your life. I'll give you an example. Imagine you had to climb the stairs of a skyscraper that's 1,000 stories tall. You've got to walk up this manually, okay? But you know there's treasure at the top. Treasure has everything you want, your dreams, your desires, everything inside of it, one treasure chest. Well, if you got to walk the top manually, how long is it going to take you? Probably 16-hour day. You're going to be exhausted. But it's going to be worth it because you're going to have your treasure chest. Running a business is more complicated than that. Now imagine there's 1 million of these 1,000-story skyscrapers, but only 5 of them have treasure. You still got to walk to the top. It takes you a full day. Problem is, the ones that don't have treasure in them, remember there's 1 million of these, only 5 that have treasure, might hurt you. You can lose financial security, relationships, your reputation might suffer, you might lose your physical or mental health. You must choose the right skyscraper to climb, and each one still takes you a full day. Well, how do you choose the right one? And what's more likely to happen? You guessing right or you guessing wrong, which is 999,995 of the options. What if you guessed wrong for 5 years and you lost your life savings, your spouse, and your health started to suffer from the stress? Not good. Easy way to do this. Let's say before you started, you assemble a trusted group of advisors, a bunch of Yodas to help you. By listening to them, you narrow down from 1 million to search to 1,000. And instead of having to walk up each one of your advisors points you to the secret elevator that takes you 2 minutes to the top. So how long is it going to take you to find the treasure now? You got 1,000 options that takes you 2 minutes to check each one. Not very long. You see, the only thing that matters that business is outcomes. So for you, let me ask you this question. What do you want? Do you want to go the slow method, option 1, which is working 80 hours a week for 5, 10, 20 years and hoping one day you get there successfully? Or the fast method, working those same hours, but getting there in 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years? Which option do you pick? I bet you pick the fast method. That's why I recommend getting a trusted group of advisors. So we'll wrap up today. If you enjoyed today's workshop, I'll provide some ways to continue learning. You can visit SWOR's website and check out other webinars. Plenty of ones taught that are great. I'm also teaching other ones too. The other thing is when I was in your shoes, I would run to the back of the room. Whenever I did this in person, I would just pick the speaker's brain. I'd run to the back, take the resources. And so if we had done this in person, you would be able to do the same and network with me and chat with me and stuff. Virtual workshops a little bit harder to have that natural sense of community. So whenever I do these, I always open myself up to virtual coffees for anybody who wants to chat. This is for mentors or people attending who want to chat too. I like meeting everybody. As you see, I actually use a lot of the conversation in my presentations because I want you to see what's going on, what other people are facing, so you can learn from yourself. So if you want to set up a virtual coffee with me, this is my email address, and I'll put the link in the chat as well. And then I will open up from some questions. And Diane said I had 3, and then some also some things. So let's go through those.
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing your screen.
Sure.
And start sharing mine. So we can just reinforce the website that we're encouraging you to go to is score.org/Manasota. If you feel that you need a mentor, and I think Alexander has made a case for maybe that's a good idea, please visit our website. There was a question in the chat, I think, that was asking about getting a mentor not in their area. And absolutely, that's possible. I would encourage you to go to score.org. You can actually search for mentors with your expertise that you're looking for, and they can be anywhere in the country. You know, these days, we don't have to all be in person. So you will be getting a survey. I hope that you take just a moment to fill out that survey. It'd be really great. As the education chair, I want to know what other topics you're interested in. What else can Alexander and others share with you to help you with your business? So let's go to our questions. Question from Joe is, how do you get accurate data on how much your competition makes, which are not public companies? How do you get that information? Remember, you had said earlier on that you should be charging more than your competitors.
You're going to know, I mean, if you have experience in the industry, you'll kind of know what, you'll be able to figure out what they're doing, what their initial price is. And a lot of times what I do is if I'm working on a business, I'll just go through their, it's called a funnel. You'll go through their funnel and I'll see what I'll buy their product or their service. And then I want to see what they're trying to upsell me and other offers they've got. And then I can usually estimate, okay, well, if they've got initial service is $200, there's usually a portion, like not everybody's going to buy the upsell. Maybe it's 20%. And so I can estimate how much they're making per customer. And then, you know, you can, a lot of times you can get data you can research how long customers usually stay at different companies. And you can also look at your own data for your customers. And so, you know, if you can figure out, you know, how can I keep customers around longer? How do I have more value for them? You can roughly estimate what it is. And this is a rough guesstimate, but like for my stuff, I know what my competitors are doing. You know, they've got the resume service and they've got their products they upsell. Well, I know what they make because I'm experienced in the industry and I don't need to go through their funnels because I have enough experience to figure that out. But if I'm looking at another industry, I'll just go through I'll see what they're selling. I'll see what their upsells are. I'll be able to calculate roughly what I think they're making. And then I use that calculation to say, all right, well, how do I make double? That's my first goal, is double. And then the longer you have customers around, if you have customers that have longevity and the longer they stay, you know, there's other calculations on this. I mean, I could do a workshop just entirely on it, but, you know, usually just buy their product, see what they're selling, and then just figure out what other value you can add and make it so you have the customers longer and you have more value to them. And it's going to be creative, you know, maybe you sell things so for example, I was talking to somebody who does, they sell flooring. Well, when they sell flooring, that's their offer. Most people just sell flooring. I'm like, why don't you sell their stuff? She's like, what else can you sell? She's like, oh, we can sell them rugs. What's the profit margin on that? She's like, oh, it's like ridiculous. It's like 60, 70%. Sell some rugs. What else can you do? Oh, well, we can also, we got the skills to do their cabinets. Do their cabinets too. See what I'm saying? All of a sudden you make double what everyone else is making. And also like, hey, are you asking what other things they need to get done? No. Okay, well, so you start doubling your orders. You see what I'm saying? So when you think about examples like that, you figure out what they're making and then you just figure out ways to add more value to the customer. By the way, when I say make double 5 times 10x, I'm saying these customers happily pay it to you because you're giving them value. We're not just saying like take advantage of customers. We're saying like actually add value and help them, and you're just able to attract more customers because they're more valuable to you.
Okay, I'm going to ask, I think, a quick question first. Bill is asking, would you compare a merger to a purchase?
They're different. Merger is like you've got two companies that might be competitors and they want to combine each other together and not one of these. Acquisition, you got a big player taking, I mean, you could be a small player taking on a big player, but usually it's a bigger one gobbling up a smaller player. Mergers is like we're combining our identities together, which is different.
Rachel has, I think, a pretty complex question. Starting a small virtual self-employed business from scratch, what are the business steps you need?
What I would do is this presentation is helpful for you to know but this is good stuff for you to know in the future, but I would start with a SCORE Mentor. This knowledge in this presentation is a little bit further for you, but I'm glad that you're here. Don't think that I'm not saying that, because you want to have this knowledge now before 10 years later when you're actually starting to sell it. So it's good that you're here, but like, you know, with the audience that are here, if I went into that stuff, you've got a SCORE Mentor who will help you. And there's other workshops that cover that topic more in depth.
Yeah, that's a pretty complex question. Tony is saying, sounds like the magic button is spending more on advertising than anyone else, which takes money. It's the chicken or the egg issue. Where's the best place to put the advertising dollars into? Google, something else? By the way, I have a brick and mortar retail business with e-commerce presence.
You know, you have a very good question. It's just a very complicated answer, and it depends on so many variables. You know, some businesses do well with Google, some of them that just it's not going to work. You need to do Facebook. I don't have enough data, enough. That's a conversation to help you figure that out. I can't answer it just on this. Does it make sense? It's like going to a doctor and saying, "Hey, I got this problem. How do I fix it?" The doctor's gonna be like, "Well, what's your medical history? What have you tried? What are you doing? What are your blood pressure? What's your this? You know, it's the same kind of thing. Is I can help you, but I can't do it in front of everybody else. All I can say is that Magic Green Button is all about getting payment from customers. What I'm talking about with the value ladder is how to make 2 times, 5 times, 10 times more customers. So, you know, what you want to do first before you do advertising is figure out how do I make more per customer by adding more value to them. I have other offers. If you run a retail store, you sell products, maybe you add some services. Figure out what the customer really needs, like their European level desire or their migraine. Like I gave you the example of how that flooring company also, oh, we can do cabinets too. There's peripheral businesses that you can do and add value. You still want to keep it as simple business as possible, but you know, for you, it's how much value can I add to the customer? Then once you figure out the value thing, then you can move to say, all right, well, I've got all this more, I've got a big giant bucket of money to spend on advertising, and you can, that's another conversation. That's marketing strategy and advertising strategy, which is different. I mean, it's a whole, I mean, that's an entire presentation topic in itself. That's what I'm saying. It's a good question.
Tony, it's a good question, but Tony, it all boils down to where is your customer? Who is your customer? That's the fundamental question. I just had a client who spent $1,000 on Facebook and didn't get any response. And I said, well, tell me about your business. I said, well, Facebook people aren't your target audience. So you've just wasted $1,000. Just think about who your audience is, who your client is, and that golden client, best of all, where is your client? And then that will help direct where your advertising dollars should go. Okay, great job, Alexander, great job. We are out of questions. Tony is thanking us for good feedback. And I think we've run out of time. So again, thank you for sharing your knowledge and your expertise and your enthusiasm for small businesses and for SCORE. We really appreciate your support of us. Thank you, and we hope to have you again soon in the future.
Thanks, Dan. It's great being here. You all have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.